This one is going to be more of a reflection. I was thinking about it this morning, and so I thought, let's talk about it. It feels like I'm wired to see myself as the side character in my own life. And I have been doing this for all of my life, for most of my life. I don't know if all of my life would be the right thing to say, because we have ego, and if we live unconsciously, then it's probably not all of our lives. So that would be not right to say like that, but yeah, definitely most of my life. Well, I thought it's the only way to be when I was just wired to make everyone else comfortable in my surrounding, but just not myself. There was this war inside of me that was like, so many times in my life I experienced that I thought, I don't know how to say that, to not fully own my emotions. It's like, yeah, it's hard to express somehow. I don't know how to even talk about it. It has not been a long that I started to do that. It was really chaotic, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I still don't know. I have no clue. I mean, I know a little bit more than I used to know, because I found myself, if you have done like similar experiences, that you have been so disconnected from yourself that you have no idea how to even what to do with your emotions. Because as soon as you try to connect with yourself, you get triggered on every possible level. Yeah, you get activated on every possible level. And the triggers are so heavy that you don't even know. It's kind of funny that out of nowhere you're being called to let go of everything that used to be performative and all, and you're being called to step into the most authentic version of yourself, and all you find in that process is the child, the wounded child. The child, the child that doesn't know what to do with the intensity. intensity, the heaviness that all of these emotions hold. And you suddenly recognize that there has never been ever a ground for you. The ground that you are allowed to build for yourself, but you don't know from what energy, right? Because you had no idea of what it feels like, you know. You thought it was like, yeah, it was a mind game. So, well, it hurts too to die in the mind and allow an ego death, right? And you thought that's all. That was just the easier part of the whole thing. And I got frustrated infinite amount of times, asking how could I not see that? Like, how could I not see that coming? That with letting go, with releasing of many things that our childhood hold, that's certainly not going to be easy. It's like your body refuses to do anything at all, which you cannot even sense before you start, right? Because you have been disconnected for so long, you have no idea what it is like to connect with yourself again. And as soon as you do that, you get flooded by every possible thing existing. Every possible trigger, and it's a lot for the body, and you try not to bypass anything, and you forget the fact that your body certainly doesn't have unlimited capacity of holding or, you know, taking things. And it was with all of those heavy emotions, it was almost like, yeah, not almost, bitterness, the bitterness to life, if that's the right word. I don't know if that expresses the intensity. And out of that bitterness, I reactivated a lot of the trauma in the body. You can imagine what it can do with your physicality, right? It's just everything suddenly feels like a prison, although it used to be more prison than now, but suddenly it's now more prison because you are, you know, experiencing, you are allowing yourself to feel the real feels what it is to be human. And and what it is to live most of your life, if not all of your lives, in lies. Yeah, I was just with that intensity of bitterness, and with the already existing fact that I was disconnected from myself, which is very much required. The disembodiment, all the Abrahamic religions, they are all built like that. They are all patriarchal, they are all misogynistic, and that requires obviously disembodiment, because you cannot be embodied and let somebody down. You cannot be grounded and let somebody down, right? You cannot be connected with yourself and make someone feel less than you. You cannot do that at the same time. You cannot have the idea of making half of humanity, call them half of a man. That a woman's testimony is worth as much as half of a man. And it needs two women to make a testimony valid. And there are a lot of things, because if you are embodied, you would naturally know that your body holds all the wisdom that you need in this present now. You don't need anything outside of yourself. And this is why they create so much fear. It depends on how many generations of your bloodline, the more of the intensity, because it's a programmed system that you live in. Not that you're stuck, you're also coding it. Not that you're powerless, but it is wired to make you feel powerless many times, if not all the times. With the fact of disembodiment, that I was already disconnected from myself, which I totally understand, because how would a child or a young teenage would survive that environment. And I was thinking this morning that how my mother was wired to not give me anything that I ever wanted, because it was her programming, and I was thinking how that led to the very fact that I don't feel the importance of my life, or of me being here, or of my purpose, that I don't feel, or I don't naturally feel enough. It's hard, the integration, because they are not only activating one level of triggers, which is hard for somebody that has been disconnected from herself on purpose to serve the patriarchal society, to serve the environment that is using your nervous system, your power, for their stability. It's just funny how stable a man comes into the world from all of the different aspects of human. How they get to come into a world that is so stable for them. And then throughout history, they thought, why not letting women down even more than they already are, because they are different than us, they are unpredictable, they're dangerous. And religion, all the organized religion, use that available energy, that available information that was always available, and they're just making that stable place even more stable for them. They get to be, and you, as a woman, you have to adjust. It's so funny to be here. You have to adjust to be safe. And it's just so sad that the female figure that should have been the most, powerful female figure, that should have given you a sense of safety as the caregiver, and the male figure, the father figure, that should have given you an example of a masculine that is stable, that is regulated, instead of just like you, a child trapped in an adult body. You couldn't have figured that out as a child. There is no way to do so, and it's just so sad. And I was thinking how my mother was wired to not give me anything that I wanted, so which led to the very fact that I naturally run out from things that I want because That was my programming. That was my very programming that I got programmed into. I wonder if there was anything that wasn't abundant. And that led to the fact of me not feeling the importance of me being here. Yeah, that's the flooding I'm talking about. It takes a sensation, it takes a word. Yeah. And that relation to my mother, it was like, it was very much controlling, very much ego driven. Howsoever, it was, which I get, like, if that's what I was talking about earlier, right? That my mother also didn't have a stable place. She also had to, adjust and all, and she was trying to people please to justify her existence. So yeah, I do get it wasn't easy for her. The reason she programmed me into what I used to be, so that I am easy. I'm not too much. I'm not too expressive. There was so much hate around my existence. Not only that I was unwanted, but also there was so much hate just for the fact of the DNA of my father. You understand like how crazy that is? This is why she was so triggered by my existence, and she used to curse me for no reason and tell things like, how would I ever be better if I came from him? Which, yeah, I understand she didn't get to decide the man she had to marry, but she decided to stay, and that shouldn't have been the thing to make a child responsible for. But that was her perception of life, and that was her way of processing. So not only I struggle with my self-worth because it's the body memory which I honor, therefore it has to be lived. It's not that I continue to believe that I'm not worthy or I'm not deserving of, just like my mother made me feel. It's just seeing the truth. There are so many, all of my life I've always seen, even when I was not fully awakened, I could see everyone's perception. I could see the state people operate from, but it was just I never experienced that, having that back from anyone the same way that I do, because that's how I go after things. I have never stayed on the surface just to satisfy my ego. I could never do that. It was like, no matter how painful it was, I was always the person that goes deeper, finds the reason to make the right perception about everyone around. But for the self, it's different because the child has been programmed differently. And so I get to experience that over and over again, that it's like a fight to claim sovereignty, to claim who I was always meant to be, who we all are always meant to be. I was made responsible for the man she married and for the man she chose to stay. There are many times that she has gone and she come back, and so because she stayed, she made me pay for it. She made me feel that she stayed for us, for me and for my siblings. And so some of the days she would just go and then come back again. And that act in and of itself, that was traumatizing enough. But she never looked at it like that could be traumatizing to a child, but it was about her. She was unhappy, so yeah, and she had to stay. She had to find a way to stay, because on the one side she had to manipulate me, because I was the one who was having more idea of what's going on, because I was the eldest. So I can't tell how my other siblings have perceived my mother, but as the first child, it is something that is deeply ingrained in me. And she stayed because she was trying to be, it was her belief that that is the only way, if she suffers, because she was supposed to be with one man in her life. So if she can make it, that suffering in this life, she will be rewarded in the afterlife for suffering, because God wants her to suffer, or something like that. And that was her belief, and she was convinced by that belief. So sometimes she would just go to make my father realize what he did wrong. But for me, that act in and of itself, that was traumatizing. And not only that she used to always tell me, if she only makes these sacrifices because of us, like she only stays because of us. So we actually are the reason that she had to suffer, otherwise she would just leave. And if she leaves, I have to take care of the family as the eldest daughter. I don't know what she was trying to achieve. if she wanted to make me afraid and not having a solid ground under my feet, she reached that. I never had that. So I never had that kind of ground under my feet. And I was thinking, it couldn't have been any different than it was, because that would require my mother to be awakened, which she wasn't ready for, right? I just found my peace growing up in a space, in a place, in an environment that made me feel like I'm just a body of flesh. And there is no other aspect of me. And I wonder if I was ever allowed to be a child. It's not only that childhood was filled with restrictions and abandonment, but also performance. That you have to perform to justify your existence, so that you are enough, so that you are loved. And one of the performance role that I got was to be a role model for my siblings, because I was the eldest daughter, eldest child in the family. Just like every other thing, my mother would have made me feel like guilt if I said or done anything wrong in her eyes, because I was supposed to be a role model that my siblings are supposed to look up to. And I was wondering if I was ever considered a child, because I have never heard them talk about a child, unless it came as a form of abandonment, like you are too young to know that if I ask some question, or that's too much for a child to ask, or things like that. Otherwise, I wonder if I was ever considered a child. And I used to ask myself, how can she not see the fact that I also need someone to look up to? But I have never gotten a nice version of her. I mean, I do understand her role now, why she did what she did. I do understand, because I am wired to do so. I can see everybody's perception. It may sound a little bit egoistic, but it's just awareness and kind of experience, because I wasn't allowed to speak a lot or express myself a lot, or not even enough. Just the most necessary things. I got to observe a lot of things. So yeah, out of that perception, I used to ask myself, how can she not see that she's not playing the right role that she's asking me to be for my siblings, and that constant judgment, or making a child feel like there is something wrong with the child, instead of being that version that you want her to be, to show the child, instead of just asking the child to be that for the siblings. Yeah, it was just one of the first polarity experiences. But I wasn't allowed to ask like that. I wasn't allowed to ask, because I didn't understand that, because that would, I know that I just know the energy as the child I was, that would have triggered her ego, and that would have had consequences, as always. This is why I always say this is all about safety, that if the very people, if the caregivers, that should be the caregivers, made you feel like you had to perform to be worthy of something, to be worthy of love, then yeah, you carry that all over your life. And the thing that makes it harder is it's the somatic experience, because the body has the memory, and it's a long time saved memory, right? And it definitely, you have to honor the process, that it will take as long as it will take to release that, because it wasn't processed properly, and you cannot learn how to process by being disembodied. And there are a lot of things, yeah, but it just all comes up, no matter how much you try to simplify it, the healing process. If you experienced injustice, which has also all the different layers, right? There's so many different layers of it, and they're gonna, yeah, come up all at once, and you have to redirect. You have to learn how to direct your emotion without overwhelming your body. Otherwise, you just end up like me. You'll end up with a child not knowing what to do, because you didn't plan to be the child as this in this adult body, but it's just part of the process. It was just choices made out of bitterness, out of sadness, out of unfair experiences. And definitely that has consequences as well. So I am still trying to figure it out, how to balance things out. And most of the days it feels like the very necessary things are just too much to do. And for the mind, the mind is the most toxic in this game, right? The mind has like, okay, we have done this and that, like based on our performative role, and we must at least do half of the things we used to do. This is why I'm saying it's just the most toxic thing you will ever experience if you don't know how to control your mind. Most of the days I don't know how to even move, because I know that is, yeah, it's also a mixture of experiences. It's a system that we are in, right? Some days it's the energy that is not supportive. Some days, because there are layers of planetary energies that are not supportive. Not that is against you or that has power over you. Not that, but if you are not in your full capacity, which is like the body you operate from, if it gets triggered because, as I said, you found the child, you're very chaotic from that place, and you don't know how to move from that space. The boundary integration, the trauma to understand that the mind, even though the mind is trying to say you have to at least do the half of the things you used to do in the past, which is just a joke, just saying, because no, the body doesn't have to perform anything. If it can, it just can. It's just the truth for now, and you have only this now. It was like so toxic for a while, and I didn't know what to do with it, because, you know, as I said, it was just all the layers, all the triggers that are getting activated all at the same time. Your biological, neurological, and physical, psychological, emotional, and mental aspect all at the same time. It's just very, it's overwhelming for your whole system. It's overwhelming for your body. It is overwhelming. It can only be overwhelming. And the reason because it is overwhelming is the system never learned how to set boundaries, right? Because it was, in my case, it was not allowed in my childhood. First I thought it's just the, neurological aspect. The brain doesn't filter anything. On top of that, trauma shapes our brain again, and it's also a very painful process to sit in that space, when you're integrating, because everything is like triggered by everything, and it's a lot for the body, and so many things you don't get to filter as a child. You just copy every single behavior, every single withdrawal, every single silencing, every single you are too much. Your body saves that. Your body saves every possible memory that is not processed, that is not felt properly. Howsoever, that thought that I was having led to the realization that, again, we are in a dream. Just like we dream, the only difference that we have, one of the very basic difference that we have between dreams and the waking life is that we have here a linear experience through agreements, and that we have a childhood. Yeah, the body actually doesn't know how old it is, right? Because you will see, no matter how old you are, based on how you learn to process emotions, we always, all of our lives, we deal with the same emotions. You just add different kind of mechanism how to deal with deeper emotions, right? It's actually all the same emotions that we have in our childhood. That is what we have as the adults. All the same emotions. You just get to know more about your emotions and all the different mental aspects and the psychological and the social aspect of the self. But we deal with our sexuality, if you think about it, we deal with the same emotions that we have as child for the rest of our lives. If you don't consciously make choices or question your childhood, then you are living actually the programming of your parents. It's the same programming you're running. And this is why that was the realization that I was having again, that the only difference that it makes is with this linear experience in waking life and having this childhood, so that you can always, you have this, some kind of beginning point where you can look back into to see who you are, like if you are not programmed with something, like children have that naturally, like just this state of being. That's what we were always supposed to be until we got programmed, right? with shame and whatever, based on the trauma and the curses that our ancestors lived by. So until that point, it's just, yeah, it's the same. In dream, you just wake up, like you start in the middle of something. In waking life, it's the same. Just you have here, if you forget about the time, because time is also a man-made construct, especially even if you just try to understand, how the time, since they started to calculate the time, it's because it's made by Romans, and they didn't have the number 0. So it's so funny. You will see if you like and try to understand the concept that we literally are carrying along even the man-made construct that we are living. That even that is wrong. Like that cannot be changed, because that would make our history make no sense. So this is why we're carrying along kind of the time construct that was built. And it is just so crazy every time you try to look into history. For me, it's just I lose the patience, and as soon as I don't understand anything, you have to understand it's also the programming. As soon as you're closer to the truth, the brain stops working, or you zone out like even more frequently, and it's just so funny to observe when you think, oh my god, my brain isn't working. No, it's actually working. It's on purpose that your brain doesn't work. It's also on purpose, like many other, yeah. I just don't want to use the BS on this word. You will see it's literally intentionally made to confuse people, to confuse humanity with the time of, before Christ and after Christ, and calculating the other way around. Like, do you understand? Like, that's all to make the ancient histories more complicated or not valid, or they were somehow to make them appear like aliens that you don't need to know much. That kind of impression makes that to me. If you are asking yourself like, why do we have agreements and when did we even agree to, as I said, it's all coded. It's all coded, and you're coding in the real time at the same time. It's both exist. It's just we are the perception of logic making that we have, that is also very much man-made. This is why the ego itself isn't the demon, the ego isn't a negative thing. It's just presented very negatively so that you fear your own autonomy, so that you always act to serve the system, not an identity that serves you and humanity, right? I don't know where I wanted to go with that, but yeah, the non-linear experience, it's, if you think, if there is no agreements, there is no experience actually, so it has to be coded, and the polarity is part of it, right? The one reason that we have a childhood is just to go back whenever you have a confusion, or you're looking for clarity, so then you have this neutral point of life where you got to be. You haven't performed, you haven't done things to please other people. This is why we have this linear experience. This is why we have a childhood. That is the very reason that the childhood exists, that you can go back whenever you're searching for the clarity that you're missing, because you don't get to program yourself, you don't get to raise yourself, so therefore there has to be something for you that works, that serves you. So in that case, it is very traumatizing to see the truth for what it is, but at the same time, that's the game itself, right? That is the human experience. If there is no negative, there is no positive. If there is no positive and negative, there is no experience. So yeah, in case I didn't mention that earlier, be gentle with yourself, regardless of if you have anyone that cares for you or not. Doesn't matter, either way, you deserve the best version of you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.